So, jumping right in, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world today. It is just noon, so right midday for me here in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to today's webinar, The Digital Elephant in the Room. And what is that digital elephant in the room? Integration. I'm Terry Carden, and I am the founder of a website called ReviewMyAMS.com. I'm also the creator of an event now hosted by Association Trends, which is called AMS Fest. Mark your calendar, June 5th and 6th in Chicago. But I am so excited to be your hostess for the next 30 minutes or so today. And what's even better than the fact that I get to hang out with you lovely people for the next little bit is the fact that our co-host for today, the Shuffle Labs team, has been a wonderful industry partner supporter of Review My AMS for the last couple years. For those of you that may not know, Review My AMS is home to nearly 1,000. Yes, we are breaking 1,000 by May because that's on my 5-year anniversary, so gonna do it. If you haven't given a review, give your review of your AMS there. But nearly 1,000 end-user reviews of more than 60 association management systems, or AMSs. When companies like Shuffle Labs support Review My AMS, it means that these guys stand for transparency in the AMS marketplace, and they get it. They are listening to what's happening in the association industry in regards to technology, and I think you're going to see that firsthand today. And before I jump in and introduce you to Monty and Will in just a moment, let's cover a couple of housekeeping items. You know, we got to get this out of the way. Of course, the webinar is being recorded. It will be accessible from myself or the Shuffle Labs team in the next day or so. We'll be doing a key takeaways write-up along with a recording of a link to the recording on the Review My AMS blog. So you can dig for it there or find it in the next Review My AMS newsletter. And of course, if you find today's webinar helpful, please feel free to pass it along with your colleagues. It's going to be super interesting, I can promise that. And so that we don't interrupt the flow of today's webinar, we're going to take the last 5 or 10 minutes or so to field all your burning questions, and we know you are going to have them because this is deep, interesting stuff. Feel free to go ahead and ask your question in the use the chat icon that's there. Feel free to direct it to me or Will or Monty during the presentation at any time, and then we'll do our best to get to all your questions during the last 5 or 10 minutes during Q&A time. So let's get down to today's business, and for that, I will introduce you to the leads at Shuffle Labs, Monty Jagadisan. He is the president and CEO of Shuffle Labs. He's also a software engineer by training. Monty started Shuffle Labs in 2010 with a commitment to providing quality solutions and exceptional services in the software technology arena. Monty started his technology career in Silicon Valley. So you'll probably say he's one of the originals there. After 3 years, he transitioned into the association management software industry, serving AMSs until starting Shuffle Labs. And we will also have on the line with us today Dr. Will Marling, and he is the Vice President of Professional Services there at Shuffle Labs. Before joining Shuffle Labs, Will spent nearly 30 years in the nonprofit world, so he can really speak our language, folks, ultimately ascending to the chief executive leadership of a national nonprofit. He's got decades of experience in the nonprofit arena and has provided a rich archive of data points about what the needs and the challenges are for associations. I've had many great conversations with Will and Monty, and this is going to be exciting. With Will's association background, his goal is to bring cost-effective, competent, and reliable IT custom software solutions and services to his new and former colleagues in the nonprofit world. That's all we've got for housekeeping items. Take it away, Will and Monty.
Thank you, Terry. I would just ask as well if folks could mute, if you'd be so kind as to mute there, we'd be grateful for that as we begin. Thank you so much. We have not been able to always control the mute on the way in, and we also, toward the end, Terry had mentioned that if you want to offer something in the chat window, you might do that just openly, because if Monty's presenting, he might not see it. And Terry and I can monitor those questions. Monty will be giving the presentation. I just want to say a little bit about Shuffle Labs. We have an introductory slide here. We've been at work since, as you see, since 2010 doing custom software application development and services, as well as systems integration. So we're well briefed on that, and as Terry mentioned, my segment of this is having worked with nonprofits and been in the nonprofit world. I'm familiar with the needs that go with it, the values, the mission that is reflected in the nonprofit world, and as a company, 70% of our customers are in the nonprofit space. So we've done government work, we've done enterprise work. We're really honored to support the mission that comes out of the great work that you all do here. And some of you, I think, are in the enterprise space as well. So we also support that too, for sure. But this is definitely, a utility, a training on this key issue of integration. And having said that, I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Mani Jagadisan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Will and Terry. Thanks for the introduction. I'm just going to kick off this topic by addressing the root of the problem, why the integration has become such a interesting topic in the recent years. It's very important to understand the root cause. So why the integration is the growing IT challenge. As you can see, it's very hard to ignore the buzzword SaaS, which is an abbreviation for software as a service. The small and medium-sized businesses, which most of the associations are, using SaaS applications. So SaaS is nothing but a new delivery model. The software solution is accessed through online by paying subscription. You don't own the software per se, just a tenant for the application. Due to this nature, the procurement process of the software procurement process has significantly changed. Businesses no longer need to go through IT to procure a solution, although it is not the recommended practice. It is becoming common. For example, a sales and marketing department can procure CRM and marketing automation platform with very limited IT involvement. So for the SaaS, the benefits definitely are incredible, but the challenges are real too. You can just take a quick look at these applications. I'm sure you are familiar with them. You may be using one or two here. And I want to share this very interesting survey. This is done by a company called Better Cloud. The timing is a slightly older survey, but the numbers are still fairly accurate. As you can see, the top 4 considerations, the cost, security, ease of use, and at the 4th point, the integration is being considered. This is by both IT as well as business. A few years back, this was not the case. I mean, the integration is a deep technical topic, which is usually handled by IT, but businesses these days, when we work with the sales and marketing folks, even on the membership departments, they are bringing up this topic very, very, very frequently. So the growing number is pretty significant. I mean, if you compare 2016 and 2018, the numbers have doubled. The number of applications that a small and medium-sized association or a nonprofit organization is using, at least 32. This is an industry surveyed number, but if you look at our own customer base, a mid-sized association is using roughly 70 to 80 SaaS applications. So what is the real challenge? I mean, it's bringing a lot of value to the table, giving the users so many options to run their business. But the single most challenge is the data silos that these applications create. A few years ago, for an association or a nonprofit, the AMS, the Association Management Software, was a core application and a central data repository. And that is not the case anymore. The same data is actually distributed to CRM, marketing automation, conference management, fundraising, learning management applications. So it's across the board. However, the member data is still centrally hosted in the AMS, and all the other applications are dependent on the data for the operational purposes. So, for example, a marketing automation platform need to be in sync with the AMS and CRM application for the operational data. So that's the dependency. So how what is the traditional integration approach? I mean, this is definitely not a new topic. We've been doing this for several decades now. But the approach, the traditional approach is one, the batch processing, which is a very popular method and a very effective method also. This worked for the most part when a CRM or AMS was considered as a central data repository, right? Because you can write a batch process to import the data into that system. And now that data is distributed, it's very hard to maintain, batch processes to do bulk uploads on a nightly basis to put it across multiple systems. And the second approach is vendor developed custom integrations. So this is basically, let's say if you are acquiring a new marketing automation platform or a CRM, typically what happens, the IT would work with either one of the vendor to develop a custom application to build that integration. First of all, it takes a very long development cycle to build something like that. It's a fixed non-flexible approach. So what that means, you would go through a discovery process and identify the key data elements. And once you set them in and build the application, build the integration based on those data points, you cannot change after that. And then it's a more of a black box. There is no visibility for business and IT on that. And another big problem with this approach is IT is responsible for both infrastructure and the API management. So when I say API management, for the applications, if there is any API deprecation or any changes to it, the IT needs to monitor that on an ongoing basis, and that's a pretty complex process, particularly if you are running 60 to 70 applications within the enterprise. So, what is the new approach to solve this problem? The integration platform as a service. It's a new breed of software applications. So this is these type of applications emerged in the last 5-8 years, I would say. And they particularly solve this problem, and they are very good in integrating SaaS applications. Not just a SaaS, you can use this type of solutions to integrate your legacy on-premise applications also, but it's popularly used to connect the SaaS applications. The little more on the integration platform as a service. They are usually built on a high availability, high performance environment. What it offers, it reduces the integration development time by up to 80%. And typically they are no code, low code solution. So that means you don't have to write code. There are visual tools offered as part of the platform. You can use the visual tools to build the integration. So, and the very important part is the infrastructure and APIs are managed by the application service providers. The associations don't have to worry about them. And it's a quite natural fit particularly for the small and medium-sized businesses. These applications are built to scale to large enterprise implementations as well. Digging a little deeper into the architecture side of it, this is this is the basic construct. There are some components. I will just go over them one at a time. I'm going to start from the bottom. The infrastructure as a service is the foundation for these kind of applications. What that means is whether it's a 10 transaction or 100 or 1 million transaction, the platform can scale on its own. There is no human intervention needed. So typically, most of these iPaaS solutions that are in the market are built on top of infrastructure as a service model. And the integration services, monitoring and management, all the administrative capabilities are built part of it, which is typically not the case if you are custom building or even maintaining your own middleware application. The management and administration portion is not very sound because you are not in typically the associations are not in the business of building integration solutions. The secure message queue, this is a very important component. All the data transactions go through secure message queue. So if there is any outage in the API or in the services, either on the source or the target site, the data is maintained in the queue for a while, and then when the system restores back, the data get pushed into the target application. The data transformation, which is another very important role of any iPaaS application, because every SaaS vendor have their own standards. I mean, it's all the standards are same. It could be a REST or a SOAP based APIs, but the way they deliver these APIs could be quite different, and that's why the data transformation layer is very important. The error handling and notification services are key as well. If there are any issues, so who gets notified and what kind of action that need to be taken. And the iPaaS platforms, they offer some pre-built connectors. Some providers call them as a branded connector, and most of them offer a SDK. So if you don't see the connector in the library, the connector that you want in the library, then there is an SDK that are typically offered to build the connector, and then the topmost layer is the visual designer, the connections and the workflows. Actually, that's the part that I want to walk you through in a live demo in a couple of minutes. I have just two more slides to go. I just want to quickly talk about some of the players in the market. So these are, some of them are really large companies catering to the larger markets, the enterprise markets where the integrations are fairly complex. And then there are the providers who are strictly offer a self-service, lightweight integration solutions. I purposely left Shuffle Exchange, which is Shuffle Labs, our version of the integration platform as a service. I just want to quickly talk about that. So Shuffle Exchange is a leading integration provider in the nonprofit and the association space. So we are a niche provider. So we have roughly about 80 connectors connecting several applications that's very specific to the association industry. And we practically connect to all the AMS and CRM applications in the industry. And we offer managed services as well. So that's kind of the background.
So thanks for showing us around there. I think the whole point of the whole thing is that, if we think about the lift, the amount of effort and resources that it takes to do a standard integration between two systems, I think your point here is that you could have had that knocked out in 20 minutes, right? And so there's a lot of power here, and despite the circumstance, I think that was reflected. We did have a question that came in from Sandy. She asked, how well do these systems work when your application doesn't have a pre-built connector? So how, if there's not an existing code already in the system, how does that work?
That's a very good question. The SDK development process ranges anywhere between 4 to 8 hours. So what that means is the connector in the iPaaS world means a completely different thing. What it means is a connector is just giving only the capability to connect to a particular environment, and that's pretty much it. And the workflow that I showed just now, they are the most important component. And so in this particular case, as you can see, this is not a pre-built capability. This is I just now pulled the you can go to the Brightspace documentation and get this two information, the method and the sample request, and then you use this information to create it. So what that means is, based on your requirement, you can build the workflows, and the workflows typically takes anywhere between 4 to 8 hours, depending upon the complexity. So there are two parts to it. First is establishing the connection, and then the second part is to actually build the workflow to do the data transfer.
Okay. Sandy, holler at me if that doesn't completely answer your question. I actually, here's another question from Jeff. How do iPaaS systems typically bill customers? Is it based on data transfer?
That is correct. And so some players they use volume, and some of them are number of connector based, and some of them have a flat platform fee, and then additional connector fee. At Shuffle Exchange, we do per connection based pricing, which means in this case we try to connect Salesforce and Brightspace. We just charge for that connection. So there are various pricing options available.
I actually had one question before we jump off here. How many applications does the average organization want to have integrated at this capacity?
Can you repeat that question?
Like, how many applications does the average organization usually request for this at this capacity of integration? So, like, are you guys usually seeing? Are your clients or customers doing like 5, application integrations, or are you seeing more like 50, or are you seeing, I don't know, 500? I mean, like, what does kind of like the average organization look like in terms of the number of applications that they're trying to have integrate?
Right. That's usually 5 to 8. That's what I would say.
5 to 8. Okay. All right. So I was just mainly just curious. I think that as we find more best of breed platforms in the marketplace, we're going to see those numbers increase. Like if we asked you that same question even 12 months, definitely 24 months from now, it'll probably be double that. So just really interesting. So I think that is about all that we have time for today. Just do one last quick run through to see if anybody else has any other questions for Mani. Otherwise, we'll jump off. And it's been quite enlightening to see how easy integrations actually. It looked super techy, but I think that the big scope of things, once the foundations are built there, then getting the systems to talk to each other and actually then changing the fields that talk to each other and all those good things becomes so much easier of a lift than what we've seen historically. So I think these are really exciting times to see these kind of products in the marketplace, and I appreciate your time today, and of course being proud supporters of Review My AMS.
Thanks, Terry.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
thank you, Terry, and everyone.
Yep. All right, everyone. Well, that's all we have for today. Keep your eyes peeled for follow-up blog posts on Review My AMS, and feel free to follow up with the Shuffle Labs team if you haven't made anything. Have a wonderful afternoon.